Welcome to the Witness Podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Trader, and this is episode 10. Well, we've hit a milestone, episode 10. I just want to say that I'm so thankful to everyone who has stuck with us this far, and I hope that you will keep getting the word out and help us to keep spreading the good news with these testimonies. Because I do feel like this is a milestone episode. The one that is being released today is one that I've actually held back for a while. About 2 years ago, I was teaching a class at my church, and on one of the evenings, only one person showed to the class. He was a guy that I didn't really know very well. I had seen him around church, but never really took the time to get to know him. I was just going to dismiss that night and go home since it was just the two of us, but we started chatting, and it wasn't long before he was sharing with me his testimony. I sat there stunned as I listened to all the things he had been through and the different situations that clearly God had brought him through. I couldn't believe that I had been going to church with this guy for so long and never heard some of these stories. As I listened to him talk, an idea started to form in my mind. And I felt God begin to speak to me, and he said, this is a podcast. A platform for people, any regular, ordinary person to come on and tell their story. We don't all have the opportunity to speak to large numbers of people, but so many of us have extraordinary stories to tell of God's goodness. Well, the Witness Podcast was conceived that night. And it took 2 years for God to position me into a place where I could do it. But now, here we are, 10 episodes in. This next witness was actually my second interview. And this was going to be episode 2. But it seemed fitting to save it for more of a milestone moment like this. This is also the longest episode so far. It went almost 4 hours. So I've decided to break it into 2 parts. You'll hear part 1 now, and we will release part 2 next week. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I call to the stand Austin Tritt.
Will you tell the truth? The whole truth? Nothing but the truth? So help you God?
Austin, what's up, man?
What's up, bro?
It's kind of crazy. You remember that night?
How could I forget? It was insane. It was insane.
I can't believe how long we sat there talking, man.
Dude, you thought it was something. I thought it was something. I was like, dude, this is my guy. When I met you, I was like, you were intimidating to me.
Why is that?
I don't know. I guess because you're just like super like mild and stoic, and your presence in church, and you're an usher and you do your thing and all that, and we had never really talked. We're both kind of like laid back, kind of quiet type dudes. So once we got to talking, I was like, this, like, I just felt a connection with you that I haven't really, you know what I mean? I don't have a lot of friends. Yeah. I have a lot of people that I'm close with.
No, I feel the same way because what was strange, like, I'm not a big phone talker.
Right.
But, like, 3 weeks after that night,
yeah,
either I called you or you called me for some reason, and we wound up being on the phone for another 3 hours after that.
Dude, hours.
Because I was painting a room while I was talking to you, and I pretty much painted the entire room while we were on the phone.
Right, and I just walked around in circles in my yard.
So yeah, there's definitely a connection, man. And I mean, I'm so glad that we've gotten to become such good friends over the past few years.
Yeah, man, definitely. And having that experience with you that night was interesting because I really don't get the opportunity to talk about things to people like that, like my experiences, my testimony, my story, because of my own insecurities. I kind of just keep that stuff to myself. I don't know. Like, I feel like I should be doing it more.
Yeah, well, this will go out to a bunch of people now, hopefully. So
Right.
hopefully, I mean, your story's amazing, dude. That's why. I mean, like I said, story was the inspiration for this.
My story is the reason why I am the way I am today.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? No, I mean, like, it's because of the powerful.
If you turn that microphone and just point this.
Oh, see, I was trying to turn it. Or, boom. Is that better?
This is like.
This is like the point.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. So if it doesn't matter. Okay. Wait a minute. How about that?
Yeah, that's good. Yep, perfect.
Better. Okay.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's all good. No, because I realize the power of my testimony. And because I walked away from God for so long, it's caused me to shell up and not share my testimony because I have this weird conviction about where I am with God and where our relationship is. So for that reason, I usually just kind of keep it to myself.
Well, you know, as they say, the devil is a liar.
Right?
So, man, I mean, on that note, let's get into it, dude. Let's talk about where you came from. I mean, I do vaguely remember how it got started last time.
What was it?
I don't want to go down that road. So you asked me if what I did for work, and I told you I run a power washing company, and I was about to start window cleaning.
Right.
And you knew a guy.
Yes.
So
yes.
that's how it all came about.
Right. You got a good memory, man.
Yeah. Well, that night is burned in my mind. But let's like where are you from? How did you get involved with Antioch and
Antioch?
Just take us down. I mean, I know your dad was part of this church for a long time. So just take us down memory lane, man.
All right. Well, I mean, like, so basically from the beginning, I mean, my mom and dad met in Antioch as kids. They were literally like my mother was one of the first families. My mother and her mother was one of the first people to be a part of this church before it was even like a church, per se. And so my mom and dad met here, and they grew up in this church together, and they ended up moving to Pennsylvania and then to California.
How old were you when they moved to Pennsylvania?
Oh, I was like brand new, like I don't know, 1 or something. You know what I mean?
So when do you first remember being in Antioch?
Well, my first, as a teenager, at some point, like when I was like 17 or 18, my dad's business partner was a part of this church.
Okay, so hold on. So you were going to an apostolic church in Pennsylvania?
Yes.
And is that where you got baptized and got the Holy Ghost?
No, I got baptized and got the Holy Ghost at, that would be Brother... Wow. He's like my favorite person in the world.
Tipton?
No. I love him, though. No. Brother Curry.
Oh.
Brother Curry's church.
Oh, wow.
When I was... Okay, so Brother Curry, when I was like 12.
Okay.
When I was like 12, I got the Holy Ghost. I was baptized in Jesus' name, got the Holy Ghost when I was 12 at Brother Curry's church. But my mom and dad were backslidden most of my life. So they met here, grew up here. They were apostolic, moved to Pennsylvania. Then they moved to California. And they stopped going to church. I had very sparse, few and far in between visits to Brother Curry's church. That's the church that I grew up in. But okay. I could say like maybe like a handful of times. Like I used to beg my parents to take me to church.
Wow.
And they had a really rocky marriage. And to me, it felt safe. It felt like that was the answer as a child. It's interesting, man, because God's just had his hand on my life, like, and I've just had a deep connection with God my whole life. Like, I remember being like 4 years old, like some of my earliest memories. It's interesting. I remember being like 3, 4 years old and my mother praying for me in the living room and me just weeping, feeling the Spirit of God. Like, I was just sensitive to his spirit and his touch. And the minute she would start to pray with me, I would just burst into tears and just feel God's presence. And I just learned from an early age to love him deeply. You know, I've always had a very close connection with him, despite like some of the ways I've distanced myself. I've always had just a feeling of closeness to him. You know what I'm saying? Like, even despite myself throughout my life, I felt I felt God pulling me, even though I've tried to put wedges between us and walk away and turn my back and make my decisions and all this and that. I've always felt drawn by him, whether I wanted to or not. And I don't really know how to describe the intimacy that it's kind of like even surreal talking about it, because like even today, like I don't feel like I'm like this, like, you know, great representative or anything like that. But
No, man, it's interesting what you say that because I wasn't really talking about that when I recorded the last episode, but it is strange, like how God makes you feel special. Like, he makes you feel like his eye is on you.
right.
And but you know, based on the Bible, you know you're not any different than anybody else.
Right.
So it's like,
right.
why do I feel that way, man?
Right.
What is that?
Right.
And even when you try to push him away, why does it seem like he always comes up after you again? And does he do that with anybody else? And you know, I kind of think that one of the things that is the prayers that people are praying for you. He's coming for you. I'm not against you, but
Sure,
he's coming for
sure.
you. Not because there's anything special about you, not that he's lifting you up above anybody else, but somebody's praying for you.
Right. And
that's what I
hope you
think.
didn't get like that's what I was getting at.
No. Because I feel the same way, man. Like, because I grew up with a lot of people here, and a lot of them aren't here anymore, and I'm like, well, why am I still here?
Right.
You know.
Right.
And I think part of it is because there's been prayers prayed.
Right.
And thank you, Jesus. People care enough. Let that be an inspiration to you out there. If you feel to pray for somebody, pray for them.
Right. Yeah. So it's funny what you say, because it, like you said, you feel like it must be unique. It must be
Right.
like, does everybody have this feeling? Like, does everybody, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
and if you do, how is it that you make the decisions that you make? Like, as special as that connection feels, as tight and real and evident as he is in those moments, how is it that you can, like, with your conscious mind, walk away from that? You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
It's crazy. It's crazy that I've done that, because I know how, like, I have undeniable experiences and undeniable memories of, you know, just like I said, and even today, it's like, even as, you know, just right now, it's like, he is obviously here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And yet you still have this like weird carnal thing.
Absolutely,
You know what I
man.
mean? That's pulling you another way. And I was literally like, I know this is like maybe off topic a little bit, but it's like, I was washing up the other night, and I was just praying and talking. I was like thinking about what I was going to do when I was done. I'm like, I'm just going to chill back, whatever, jump on a game, do something, you know. And at the same time, I was like, I should just get in my Bible.
Man, I had that struggle every single night.
Right. And I was like, I should just get in my Bible, or go talk to one of the girls that was hanging out at the house. One of the, you know, the teenagers that my wife has around, like, you've seen them, they come to church with us. They're like dying to talk about the word. And I'm like, I'm literally talking to God. I'm like, there's nothing. I'm never more happy than when I'm in the Word and talking about the Word. Like, that's when I'm thrilled. That's when I'm excited. I'm pumped up. Like, nothing gets me going like that. Yet I choose to do other things.
I know,
it's
man.
crazy.
It's
crazy, man.
It drives me
insane.
It's
crazy. It's like, what is it?
In me dwelleth no good thing, I guess.
Shoot, man. So yes.
So
and so yes, exactly. And so basically, it's like I remember I would beg my parents, please, let's just go to church. You know, I felt like that was the only thing that was going to hold their relationship together, because I'm watching their marriage just crumble as I'm growing old. And to me, that was like the worst possible thing that could happen, was for my mother and father to divorce or you know, for them to fight. And it was always turmoil. It was just always turmoil in the home. And I got two little brothers, you know, Aaron and Avery, and I felt like it was my job to, like, you know, kind of keep everything together. You know what I'm saying? And
you're the oldest.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And even so, it didn't happen often. But the moment we walked into church at Brother Curry's, man, it was like, you know, this is where we need to be. I mean, dude, we were in church so little growing up that when we were there, we got like welcomed from the pulpit. You know what I'm saying? Oh, the Tritts are here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, dude, like that. Like, it felt good and bad at the same time.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was like, yeah, like, hey, yeah, we're here.
We don't want to be considered guests anymore.
Yeah, right. And I'm like, as a kid, you know, it was cool to be like that. You know, they knew us.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But like that they felt obligated to make a mention of it was also
right.
You know, but and literally every time we were in church. So when I was 12, I had convinced my grandmother to take me to church. Okay. So I was going to, my mother and father were like in the middle of their divorce. Okay. And at preteen, I was, like I said, always asking them or whatever. So then somehow, and I was also kind of getting into some trouble and stuff in school. And my mother had gotten me connected with one of the like youth pastors at the church. So here and there, I was getting picked up from somebody. They would come to get me or whatever. And this one dude, he was in his early 20s, and he was talking to me about getting the Holy Ghost. So for a couple weeks in a row, I was in church and on like in the middle of the week, not on Sunday service. And they were praying. They would bring me up to the altar and try to pray me through, and I wanted it, you know, and it wasn't happening. And so one night I had convinced my grandmother to take me to church because I was like, I think his name was Manir, was his name. He told me, next time you come, you're going to get it. So I was like, all right, well, when's the next time I can come? You know what I'm saying? So I convinced my grandmother to bring me to Brother Curry's church one night, which she also was a part of that church. And she had met her husband there. And I think that's how my parents ended up going there. But anyway, I was baptized and I received the Holy Ghost. And from then until I was almost 18, or 18, I was 18. I didn't have that experience again.
Oh, wow.
Right?
So did you drift?
No, I just didn't know how to do it.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
I didn't know how to get there. I needed, you know, to get juiced up. And
Yeah.
So, and yes, I drifted. So that's what's interesting, is that at 12, I received the Holy Ghost, was baptized in Jesus' name, and my life went upside down completely. Although at certain times it was funny. It's funny because despite like the things I was involved in, the people I was around at that age, because then my mother and father did divorce. They separated right after that.
Right after you got...
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. And I went with my dad, and my two brothers were with my mother. and my dad we're living in Hanover, PA, and my dad had a business in Maryland. So I was alone a lot, and I had a lot of run, he was usually gone before I got up for school. And by the time I was out of school, it was like 9, 10, 11 o'clock, usually when Dad was getting home. So I had a lot of freedom. And that's when I started hanging out with dudes, that were older. They were into things that were way beyond my years. You know what I'm saying? Drugs.
Yeah.
Alcohol.
So you were getting involved with that too?
Yes.
As 13, 14, 15?
Yeah, so it started with, mind you, like the most important thing about this, like this time span, these 6 years or so, the one of the most important things is like I never didn't feel the drawing of God. I always was extremely conscious of what I was doing and what I was involved in, partaking in, and feeling a serious like the tearing feeling. You know what I'm saying? Just no matter what I was doing, I could be just totally lit. You're not going to argue with me about the existence of God. You know what I'm saying? Like he's real. You know what I'm saying? Period. So anyway, these guys around the corner gave me a cigarette one day, and he was like probably 19, 20 years old, and I'm sitting there like smoking the cigarette with this grown person, and he's talking to me about making money and this and that, and and this is when we're talking about way before, like, this is 20 something years ago now. So,
2005
ish.
Okay.
Weed was completely illegal. You know what I mean? Everywhere.
Right.
You know what I mean? Where it's legal now and all this and that. So, like, at that time, it was like a major crime to have any possession of marijuana, and especially in Pennsylvania, any possession of any kind of narcotics at all. Like they have like minimums, like mandatories and all kinds of stuff for drugs.
So you're what, 15, 16 now?
13.
Still at that, wow.
I'm saying at 13.
Okay.
I'm standing here smoking the cigarette with this dude who's talking to me about how to make money. And as a kid, they're putting drugs in my backpack and having me ride around dropping them off on my bike. Inconspicuous kid with a book bag. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, man, that's crazy.
Right. Like, yeah, that they like some kind of weird mule. You know what I'm saying?
What's crazy, too, is like anybody that doesn't know, like Hanover, PA is, I mean, from my perspective, it's like small town USA. I mean,
it was at that age. So at 13, that's Hanover started going downhill because heroin got introduced.
Oh.
So heroin started coming in, and it did a number. It did a serious number, and so you have a lot, like the population. Not only that, but a lot of people moved out of Maryland to Pennsylvania from the city.
Yeah.
Because of the it was less
it's
expensive
only
to live there.
for those of you that don't know, it's only about 45 minutes from Baltimore City to Hanover, PA. And so a lot of people moved to PA to escape Maryland taxes while they
commute.
Yeah, they retain a good Maryland job. So
Right, exactly. So that's when I lived in the era where Hanover, Pennsylvania kind of started going on a downward spiral. And like I said, a lot of drugs were introduced, and teenagers were targeted. Like, it was a big deal. The number of teens, like, if you could even look into it, like a lot of kids that I grew up with are dead legitimately. Like, it was a small town, and heroin swept through there, and just, I mean, one after another, kids were dying, overdosing. And today, regularly, people that I grew up with die still. It was awful. But anyway, these guys were having me run coke and marijuana and deliver it.
It's insane,
and paying me to do it.
And you're 13.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah, and I'm sitting there.
I mean, do you even know, like what you're doing?
Oh yeah, I was completely aware. I wasn't aware of the severity of it. And see, this is also the era of when gangster rap and all that like really started popping. It really started popping, dude. And it's crazy the damaging effect that it had on me, because it annoys me to think about it, but it really, like, I looked up to these dudes, these stupid rappers. It's just mind-boggling. You know what I mean? Like the things that they represented this. It was this weird yearning I had as a kid I was reacting, dude. I was reacting because I was angry at the things that were happening in my life, and it was like this just reactionary thing of like and rebellion. You know what I'm saying? And that's what it represented. Like, it represented rebellion. It represented like breaking out of any control and taking control of your circumstances. And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I remember sitting there at 13 years old up in my bedroom. I remember sitting there at 13 years old in my bedroom, secretly counting my money, and I got $500. And I'm like, what? 13-year-old.
That is insane, man.
Yeah, man.
Golly.
So that.
I didn't even know what $500 looked like when I was 13.
Right. That's what $500 back then was a lot of money, dude. It was a lot of money, and it was like nobody had $500. I've got $500. You know what I mean? I like literally bragged that I had $500.
No doubt.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was easy. It was easy money. So that's how it started. This weird trail that I went down. It started with the drugs and the money, and gradually, you know, the people that you're running with. Now I'm getting in trouble in school. You know what I mean? I'm not going to school. I had no, my dad had very little control of me because of this. Like I was telling you, he was all the way down here. So I had a cell phone, and it was like Dad would call me on the phone. I had to answer the phone. That was pretty much like the extent of, I didn't have like a whole lot of rules,
right.
You know what I mean? And like, he didn't really have a way, even though he didn't want me doing, and he didn't know what I was doing. He had no idea.
Of course.
You know what I mean? He had no idea what I was doing. If he had, I'm sure he would have taken some steps. You know what I mean? He's assuming that I'm where I'm saying I'm at. He put too much trust in.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So, and me and my dad were more like friends,
right?
And I don't know how that happened either, but that's really what happened. Is we became more like friends. We are to this day. We're like best friends, but Yep. So what happened, that escalated. The drug sales all through my school years. I was expelled from one school after another. I was in trouble constantly, fighting, just anything I could do. I didn't want to be in school. I hated being in school. And I also ended up picking up a job. So I made a lot of weird decisions. I dropped out of football. I was actually being in the ninth grade. So by the time I was in the ninth grade, I was actually had scouts coming from Shippensburg University checking me out. I played linebacker, and I was really good at football, man.
So are you doing drugs too at this time? Or?
So I did. That's the thing. It's like I smoked weed and like chronic and stuff like that, but I wasn't like into heroin ever. Never used heroin. I never like smoked crack or anything like that. I was addicted to the money. That was my addiction. It was the money, the weird like presence, you know what I'm saying, and the reputation and all that stuff that came with it. You know what I mean? Like I had created this really like weird persona, you know what I mean, of this, and this really warped idea of what it was to be like, you know, cool or whatever, for lack of a better phrase.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Just emulating all the garbage that I was intaking, you know what I mean?
Right.
And had the influences, you know, that were, you know, like I said, these older dudes that were like encouraging me, and the music and the just all of it just lashing out, you know. So basically, from 13 until I was 18, I was pretty heavily involved in criminal activities of all sorts, and chasing money and selling the drugs and guns and this and that,
But you're going to school, playing football.
Yep.
And then
had these extracurricular activities.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
So on the one hand, you're a normal run-of-the-mill teenager, and on the other hand, you're a thug.
Well,
basically.
Well, it wasn't that separated. It was like I was living it, and still, you know what I mean? Like I still had these pursuing things of, you know what I mean? I was, and still wanted to be in church. Still wanted my parents to just take me to church.
That's wild.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's
like
wild.
I was crying out. I was begging. You know what I'm saying?
Did you think that you could do all that and still? Did you feel like doing all the stuff you were doing was okay?
Oh no. And it was like I always knew in the back of my mind, like I got to get it together at some point. You know what I mean? Like, and I knew like this is temporary. Even as far as I'm willing to go, as far as I ever am willing to go, like I gotta at some point I gotta stop.
Yeah, because I mean I know it seems like there's some people, and this is not a slight, or I'm not throwing shade on anybody, but you can get into a place where you convince yourself that the way you're living is okay.
No, but there were times when I can remember kind of like crossing the line of, you know, because you separate yourself so far from God, and eventually like and quiet him and quench his spirit and shut his voice out and become like kind of like tone deaf, or
right.
You know what I'm saying? Like I can remember noticing the feeling of growing cold and desensitized for sure, and that was terrifying.
Okay,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
because I was recognizing like there's this weird. I'm extremely self-aware. You know what I mean? So like, and I was able to pick up on it. But what I was saying was that from in those years I was involved in all this stuff, and I'm still, by the time I got my license and all that, now I'm like kind of like starting to. I'm 16 and get my license at 16 the day I could get it, and I'm taking myself to Bible study, and I'm going to church, right? I'm like taking kids from school to church. Wow. With what I mean, and my buddies. I'm like, well, I'm going to Bible study. You want a youth group or whatever. You want to go with me? And I'm loading up my little extended cab S10 with like 4 or 5 people and going down doing all this stuff, and then literally leave out of there and go right back to what I was doing.
Wild, man.
Yeah, man. But it's weird. It's weird because like I was so hungry and thirsty for God, but at the same time I was just oppressed.
I mean, isn't it amazing that God puts up with that? I mean, it just blows my mind. I mean, I'm not saying that against you. Like I've been in there. I've been there too. I was saying last week, or the last episode, like no matter how far away I ever drifted from God, no matter where I was, what I had been doing, almost every night before I went to sleep, I would speak in tongues.
Right.
I would make it a point to do that. And God he just was always there. Like Why would he do that,
Right,
man? It's just
right.
amazing to me,
Right.
the love that he has for us. You know?
And see, that's the weird thing about my relationship with God is that I didn't have, because of my lack of exposure to church and my lack of real like fellowship throughout my life, I didn't have an educated understanding of God. I just had the relationship. I literally, like I was saying, from my early years, I just had this love for him. You know, it was like when I was little, my mother told me, Jesus is God. There's only one God. His name is Jesus, and all he wants you to do is love him. That's how I was introduced to God from my earliest memories. And that was like a really simple concept to me. So I didn't have a lot of, the kids, what are they, the Sunday school,
Yeah.
where by the time I was 18, and I got to come back, but by the time I was 18, I literally knew 2 scriptures, period. Like I knew Acts 2:38 and John 3:16. That was it. That was the extent of my Bible knowledge.
Wow.
But I did always have the relationship. I loved the Lord. And so like I was saying, I got my license. I was taking myself to Bible studies, youth group, whatever, and still involved in all this illegal activity. And I started working at a truck shop when I was 15. And I started working at a truck shop when I was 15. And I was going to school. I was going to a vocational high school. And I was selling crack in the high school to the students.
Jeez, man.
So every day, like before I had my license, like on my way to the bus, like on my way to school, there was 2 dudes that rode the bus with me to school, and I would literally get on the bus, give them their bags on the bus, and then I had several other people at the school that were selling crack for me. Because I was going to a York City school. I went to York Tech, which is a city school, which is a county school, but which means like everybody in York County went to this school, could go to the school, okay, a vocational high school. And I would meet up with 4 or 5 different other dudes that were, the students, obviously, and give them their bags, and they would, at the end of the day, meet up with me and give me my cash, get on the school bus, collect my cash from the other 2. Like, that was every single day. And, like, on a regular basis, like, this was well known. Not only that, it was well known in the school by the teachers, students, whatever. I was strip searched on a regular basis. I had several lockers throughout the school building where I stashed stuff.
It's crazy, man.
Yeah, legit. And so
you're 16 when this
yep. And then 15, 16 and a half, you can have your license. So by the time I got my license, I was obviously 16 and a half. And, but up until then, I took a bus to school and literally did my thing. And then, selling crack in the school and, working at a truck shop after school. And eventually I just stopped going to school altogether, while my dad has no knowledge of it at all. So it hasn't, I just literally just stopped going to school. So it's crazy. If you miss 10 days straight in the rules, if you miss 10 days straight, you would be expelled from the school. So I would go 9. I would leave for 9 and then show up on the 10th day, and then leave for 9 and show up on the 10th day.
That's wild, man.
And was like forging notes and all this craziness from my father, like to the school. And he never caught on. It was a really weird circumstance by the time he did catch on.
I mean, so like, what's going on in your head? Like, do you have any fear that all of this is going to come to a screeching halt, or?
No, I didn't care. Like, that's what it was like. The other part of me, the worldly part of me, just did not care. Like, so what? Catch me, figure it out. I'll just leave. I'll just move out. I'll just, you know what I mean? Like, I don't care if my dad gets mad and tells me I got to go or doesn't want, it's like, okay, whatever, like, good. You know what I mean? Like, that's where my head was at, because I was so angry. I was so angry about, you know what I mean? I had all this pent up anger, and I was just didn't know how to deal with all of it. It's just wild, man. It's really wild. Like, the enemy just irks me so bad, dude, because of the abuse. Like, I was just abused, man, emotionally abused by the enemy, dude. Like, this weird rag doll, man. When I, looking back,
Yeah, I mean, you didn't realize that was
I didn't know at the time, but looking back, I'm like, holy cow, dude. Like, he was literally like just gunning for me, man. Like, my whole life, like, just gunning for me. And anyway, eventually, my dad did figure out what happened. The school ended up calling. No, my dad's girlfriend called the school looking for me. They didn't know where I was, so they called the school, and the school's like, we haven't seen him in like months. You know what I mean? Like, he's like hardly ever here. And that's when my dad called me and was like, get out. And he's like, you're done. You know what I mean? And I was like, all right.
So how old are you when that happens?
17.
Okay.
17.
So you get kicked out.
Yeah, so yes, I was 17, and I would say I was in 11th grade.
But you and your father, in spite of that, you still maintained a decent relationship to a degree.
Well, so what happened was, I was like, yeah, absolutely, like, yeah, I'm out. I went home. He was at work. I went home, and I started dragging my stuff out, packing my truck, and I'm going to stay at my girlfriend's house. And he pulls up on me as I'm leaving, and it was like, let's go for a ride. And I'm like, all right. So I get in his van, and he's going to do something, whatever, and he's talking to me. He's like, look, man, like, you can move out, you know, drop out of school, move out, go do what you want to do, screw your life up and be nothing. Or you can stay and you can come to work for me, and you're going to get up when I get up. You're going to come home when I come home. I don't care if you're sick. I don't care if you're tired. I don't care this, yada, yada. And you're going to learn a trade, and, you know, you're going to get your GED. And like, he laid out this plan that sounded like a dream come true. I was like, really? Like, I can quit school and go to work and make money and learn how to build houses, and, you know what I mean? Like, I was all about it. I was like, okay, all right, cool. And I started to literally.
So does that, like, silly question maybe, but does that, like, interfere with your business, your hustle?
I was good. Like, that changed things for me. That changed my whole, like, outlook on life. That experience, it was like it's this weird thing,
so
that
you're willing to walk away from all that.
I just kind of like, I did kind of like, to an extent. Like, I was just, you know what I mean? I still, like, dabbled or whatever, but I was not committed. Like, I would literally just get up, go to work, and I was roofing, and, you know, I was all about it. Like, I was running a roofing crew for my dad, and I was committed. Like, I was Tritt & Sons, like, underwear, bro. Like, I was all about it, and I loved it. I got my GED. I did all that, and what ended up happening was Dad merged businesses with another person, and me and that dude didn't get along at all. And I, you know, had, like, dreamt up this dream, this pipe dream, that I was going to, like, you know, learn everything there is to learn about construction and all that. And me and my dad were going to be business partners, and, you know, that was going to be, like, how I finished out my life. Like, I'd just become committed to it completely. I was in love with the idea. And then all of a sudden, that, like, poof, like, went up in smoke, because this dude was just, we didn't get along. He was just hard on me, man, for no reason. I don't know what his deal was. And one day I just had enough of it and just walked off the job. We were actually doing the roof on Daryl Savage's house. Yeah.
I remember.
Yeah, that's what was happening. So, yeah.
We might have to cut that out. You were doing a roof.
Yeah, we were actually doing a roof
on a customer's house.
Yep. And in Epping Forest. And he snapped at me and I just like lost my mind. And
I'm sorry. At this point, you are living in Annapolis, or at least most of your life is happening in Annapolis.
Yeah, at this point, my dad had moved to Maryland, and I moved. We were actually living in like Pasadena area, kind of, and it was like I got up, I went to work, and you know what I mean. I was good with all that, and it was cool. Well, I exploded. I walked off this job, dude. I walked all the way out of the neighborhood, all the way down 97, all the way down 695. I'm walking to Hanover, Pennsylvania at this point. I'm walking. I literally walked like many miles, dude, all the way down the highway. And I'm calling people on the way. And eventually, people were picking me up, dude. People were picking me up on the side of the highway and like would like drive me like a mile or two and 3 miles, whatever, drop me off, whatever. And this recruiter picked me up.
Oh boy.
Yep. A recruiter ended up stopping and picking me up and driving me like 5 miles and dropping me back off. But he got to talking to me. He's like, "What do you do? Like, what's your out?" And I was infuriated, bro. I was infuriated. Like as I'm walking, like I'm like just I am mad. And he's like, "What do you do?" I'm like, "I'm a mechanic." And whatever. He's like, "You ever thought about joining the Army?" And I'm like, "No, I didn't." And he's like, "Well, you should think about that." He's like, and this is when Afghanistan was hot.
Yeah.
And I was like, he's like, "There's, two things on the battlefield at all times, a medic and a mechanic. And if you want to," I was like, "Yeah, I'm all about it." Like, I was like, I literally, dude, like I'm walking down 695 and I called the recruiting office in Hanover and I was like, talking to them. I'm like, "Hello." They're like, "Yeah, sir, can you roll your window?" The cars are just blowing past me, like, "Whoa, boom, boom." I'm like, I want to sign up now. Like, I want to go to Afghanistan tomorrow."
Boy, those
like,
jokers were ready to celebrate, man.
I was like, "Send me to Afghanistan tomorrow." You know what I mean? I was like, "What do I got to do?" They're like, just come in. And I was like, I was all about it. And like that was like another example. I was literally like out of rebellion. I was so mad at my dad, dude. I was so mad. And I was like, why would he do this? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what are you thinking? That's what I was thinking at that age, like, about the whole thing. And anyway, that's what I did. So I went to, got home to my grandmother's house is where I went. I walked. My buddy ended up picking me up. Like, it was on his way home from Ocean City. It was crazy. I like called enough numbers, and my buddy's like, "Oh yeah, I'm on my way home." And
that's wild.
Yeah, he ended up scooping me on almost to 795. I was almost to 795.
My God.
Yeah, like literally all the way down Bestgate, all the way down 97, all the way down 695. Literally. Almost made it to 795, dude. It was like hours and hours and hours. My feet were messed up. I was in work boots. Yeah. So anyway, the next day I went to the recruiting office, enlisted in the Army, and told them I wanted to be a tank mechanic and go to Afghanistan. And that's what I was doing. And my family panicked and they're like, "Oh my God, it's the war." And I was like, "Yes, exactly. Like, that's what I'm doing." And I ended up getting pulled over driving without a license. The recruiter had pulled all these strings because I had issues anyway. I had some criminal background and stuff from juvenile and whatever. There was no way I was getting the Marines. That's what I wanted to do, was go to the Marines, but they were not having it. And but the Army was going to take me, and then I got pulled over driving on suspended license, and I called the recruiter to tell her what happened. She's like, I'm done with you. Like, I'm not, just don't even call here anymore. Like, I've done it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've done everything I can do. Like, it's over for you. And so
that had to be devastating.
It was devastating, dude, because there was like I said, it was out of rebellion, but the other part of me was...
I mean, that was also like your way out.
Yeah. Yep. And after I got off the phone with her, I had this vision of myself selling tremendous amounts of drugs and running this like criminal like empire, right? And the next day I got to work. I went right to work, and I called up my boy Joe Guy, we called him, and I was like, "Yo."
So hold on, how long after that initial, when that recruiter picked you up on 695?
Mm-hmm.
How much time elapsed from that moment to when you got pulled over by the cop and the whole thing got thrown out?
About a month.
So in that month, what are you doing? You're living with your grandmother. You're just...
I was not exactly living with my grandmother, but me and my buddy had this like apartment under this old courthouse, and I was kind of like crashing there, and I was,
playing under the radar or whatever.
Floating on, yeah. And I was, I had some money, and I had pretty much like walked away from the drugs and all that stuff. And I was, like I said, I was going to take myself to youth group and stuff like I was changing my ways.
Yeah.
And in a lot of ways, I was changing my ways, and I was just different. It was different. You know what I mean? Like I had this just change that happened when I went to work with my dad, and
right.
and dreams and aspirations, you know what I'm saying, and whatever. And
so
when
it all gets blown out.
Yes, when that situation happened at work, and I just lost my mind, and then I went to try to go to the military, and then that didn't work out, and I just like snapped.
Yeah,
I snapped. I totally snapped, and I was like, I'm gonna go harder at this than I've ever done. I'm so angry at everybody, at everything, at life, at myself, at whatever. I'm going to like full head into this like full throttle, and I got on the horn, and I'm like, called Joe Guy. I'm like, yo, what do you got? Go pick up some weed, which at the time, talking about weed right now, it sounds funny, but then it was a major situation.
Yeah.
It was a major situation. So it was like, I went up, got the bag, called him an hour later, got your money, give me another bag, called him an hour later, got your money, give me another bag.
You're selling it that fast?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And then finally I was like, stop giving me these little bags. Give me a pound. And from there it just went up and up and up. It was like, let me get a pound. And he's fronting it. He's fronting it to me. Like I'm not, like we had a relationship and all of that. So he's fronting me a pound, front me 2 pounds, 3 pounds, whatever. And it just kept going and up and up. And then, like I said, back then, a pound of weed.
So is this the guy that set you up when you were a 13-year-old?
No, this is a dude that I just got linked in with on some weird circumstances. And we had a relationship and some history, but we never had any business dealings. So I called him, but I knew what he was doing. You know what I mean? I knew everybody knew about Joe Guy. Everybody knew about Abraham in Hanover. Like Abraham was the plug. Joe Guy was his right-hand dude. And I became Joe Guy's, like, the face of, like, they were in the background. You know, everybody knew of them, but they're not doing
like the store.
Basically, yes. Like Joe Guy was the wholesaler. Essentially, you know what I mean?
So let's pause that. Okay. I'm still wondering, like, you made a reference a little while ago to coming back here and trying to talk to a pastor about.
Yeah, what is it about that?
I don't know, man. You said it, and it's been stuck in my head, and I just want to know how that factors into this whole thing.
Oh, well, because that was...
So anyway, man, I'm sorry I cut you off.
Yes.
Let's just keep moving forward. I don't know why that other stuff was stuck in my head, but let's just keep moving forward.
So what happened was I was basically the face of Hanover for weed. Like if you needed weed, you called me. Like everybody knew to come to me for weed. And I started selling tremendous amounts of marijuana in Hanover and York County for that matter. And I was I was over at my buddy Mouse's house, and this dude Dan Cook that I went to school with before I went to York Tech, he just popped up and was like, "Hey, you know where I can get some weed?" I was like, "Yeah, actually," and I was like, "I got plenty of it," and he was like, "All right, whatever." So we ended up just talking, and he tells me what he's doing. So it's interesting because it was extremely hard to get marijuana at the time, but I had plenty of it. So he was a big weed smoker, pothead, whatever. He was selling crack and ecstasy. So we got to talking, and he's like, "Yeah, I get it shipped from Florida, and or whatever, or we run down there and get it and come back." And he's making big money, all right, because it's a lot more money. It's a lot more money, selling crack.
Yeah.
and as profitable as selling marijuana was at the time, selling crack and ecstasy was like many times more profitable. So me and him ended up joining forces basically, and I got the weed, he's got the crack, the ecstasy, and we are just making money, dude. It was crazy. Like I had dudes like in the colleges up there. I was getting ecstasy pills. We'd get like 100, 200, 750, sometimes 750 ecstasy pills for $2 a piece and sell them for $25 a piece.
Man.
Yeah. And in a matter of 3 days. You know what I'm saying? Like it was gone because these dudes were up at the colleges where they're partying. I'd ride out to Millersville College, whatever. I got somebody that I went to high school with that's now going to that college, and we're tight enough, and he's, enough of a criminal or whatever you want to call it. It's like we had enough of a relationship. It's like, all right, look, I'm gonna drop off 500 pills, whatever. He'd sell them in the school. We'd meet up. I'd give him another bag. I'd get my money. Just raking it in, dude. And I was fully engulfed in this, drug empire.
And you're what, 19, 20?
No, I was 18.
Wow.
18. So, long story short on that, it came to an abrupt end so we're getting these drugs, a lot of times we're getting them shipped through UPS. So, we would just basically, Dan would put the order in, and there was a really interesting way of packaging it and concealing it and shipping it and all that. It was pretty much undetectable, and for the most part, and very careful about it all and whatever. And it's a long story short. Like I said, we ended up. I ended up not have usually would have it sent to some chick's house or something where I was crashing or whatever. Like where I'm I'm running around doing whatever, and I'd just use some address and the UPS dude would show up, knock, drop, and we'd go out 10 minutes later, get it, bring it in, cut it up, do what we got to do, bag it up. Well, I ended up for some reason, some weird circumstances, and I didn't have an address that I felt comfortable sending it to. And my grandmother was out of town, and I had a key to her house. And I was like, yo, have them send it to my grandma's house. And we're going to just crash at my grandma's house because she's gone. And I knew she was gone. I knew when she was coming back. And we're going to and we ended up just partying at my grandma's house. that was a situation. And it's crazy thinking about it. Like thinking back to what happened then, because like I literally laid these ground rules. Like, all right, listen, no smoking in the house, no this, no, do not go in my grandmother's room. You know what I mean? Like whatever. And then they're like just drunk and high and everything else. And all of a sudden, like the people that I gave all these rules to are like, yo, bro, you're breaking the rules. Like they're like trying to get me out the house, and I got a cigarette in the house, and you know what I mean? Like it's funny now. It was hilarious then, but it's also like not funny. Like it's, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just,
It's kind of sad.
it's sad. It's like these, like, what was I doing, man? But anyway, so I end up having this package sent to my grandmother's house, and the UPS, it was a sting. So they found the package at the airport, and randomly they pulled it out of 7 random packages, ran the dog over it, found it, carried out the delivery, brought it to my grandmother's house. I'm there at 18 with my 17-year-old girlfriend and my brother, and who's underage, and his underage girlfriend, and we're in the house, and Aaron's drunk. And I'm up in my bed trying to crash. I was exhausted, and I had mono, and I was like not sleeping and partying and all that. And I was like just drained and exhausted. I'm like just trying to like get a wink of sleep, right? And I felt like, and I'm in my grandmother's house, like I'm in a safe place or whatever. I could just like go to sleep. Well, UPS dude gets there. My brother, drunken brother, answers the door to this UPS dude, and Aaron proceeds to come upstairs and get me. So I go down there. Anyway, it was a sting.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah, they raided the house. They tore my grandmother's house apart. And
Oh man.
yeah. Like it was crazy to know what was happening in the moment and not know how to get out of it. Like my heart is like poof, 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 poof.
So at what point did you realize?
When the dude handed it to me and it was light as a feather, and I'm looking at him and he's like real, just like unprofessional. And then I saw the chain around his neck, and
Man, that's gotta
like
be a feeling, man.
yeah, he's wearing a UPS suit, right? So he hands me the package. He's cursing. He's unprofessional. And then he asked me for directions to 83 from where we were. And that was I was like, oh my God, like, yo, this dude drives for a living. Like, you literally, where are you at? And I turned to tell him like where he needs to go. And he straight like elbowed, like came from behind me, busted me in the back of the head, jumped on top of me, and the SWAT team rolls out from
that's insane.
From inside the UPS truck. It was the SWAT team was in the they blocked off the whole road.
It's like a movie, you know?
Oh yeah, there was ATF and they just blocked the whole, barricade the whole street off, and went to work. And I'm like, oh my God. So they arrest Aaron as well for underage drinking. They charged me right there, and I'm sitting there. Dan and Tony had we called him Nubs. He got the nickname Nubs. He was like missing like 4 fingers. He liked being called Nubs. I think he gave himself the nickname. But anyway, Dan and Nubs come. I see them in the Firebird driving past. Like they couldn't get to the house. They were on their way back to the house, and they like saw what was going on and like did a U-turn in the road. And then my phone just starts blowing up, and it's like I'm like trying to mute the phone or whatever. They hadn't cuffed me quite yet. They tackled me, or they ended up uncuffing me. They took the cuffs off me. I'm sitting there like trying to mute my phone. So tore the house apart. Got everything that we had that I had in there, which was not much of anything, and charged me and told me that the cop told me, if you cooperate with us, we will release you on your own recognizance right now. Like, we won't even take you to the jail cell if you'll or to the county jail or whatever, and process you. We'll process you right here if you agree to cooperate with us, and you'll be out until your court date. And I was like, yeah, sure. Sure, I'll tell you whatever you want to know. But I didn't. I pretended. I wasn't about to. I at the time, like, snitches get stitches.
Yeah.
The whole thing, like, snitching, you know what I mean? Like, that was number one. Like, you were not getting nothing out of me. Like, I wasn't telling you jack diddly.
So did you just give them false information?
I didn't give them any information, but they had signed the paperwork. They handed me the paperwork that says, you're released from your own recognizance, this and that, third. You agree to cooperate, whatever. That's it. You're done. Like, they cannot, if you don't, they can't arrest you again. Like, you've been.
So you signed the paperwork before you started talking?
I said, yes, I will. And he hands me the paper and I signed it. And then I never told him nothing. Like, they were calling my phone all the time and trying to.
Oh, so they were just going to come back and talk to you?
Yeah. But I was released. Like, I was released on my own.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I would have thought that they were going to question you right then and there.
Well, they tried to, but I didn't tell them anything significant or whatever. It was like, no, this is what I do and whatever, but I didn't give any names or links to anybody or this or that. I didn't tell them nothing. Like, when I got out of prison, when I ended up obviously going to prison, which I'll get to that anyway, but when I got out of prison, like, everybody was like, yo, like, come on back. You know what I mean? Let's. Now, that's not what was expected. That's not what was thought was going to happen. So everybody was nervous, that I was tied. Everybody that was connected to me was scared to death that I was going to talk. And if I talked, I mean, I was the link to, I could have brought down some big names. You know what I'm saying? And the reason for this goes back to what I was saying. The reason they were willing to do this is because of the drug crackdown that was happening in Hanover at the time. So they were trying to take down big drug dealers, and they just caught one. And because of the drug crisis in Hanover, they were willing to release me on my own recognizance to try to get bigger names.
Right.
Well, that's why it worked out the way it did. So I ended up with all this time that I was, free before I ever went to court, which was about a year of time had passed before I went to court. So basically, Joe Guy and Abraham. Now, I was talking about Abraham. I had never met Abraham in my life. I knew who Abraham was, but I never faced him. I knew where the weed was coming from that I was selling, but I dealt with Joe Guy. So after I'm arrested, I immediately called Joe, and I'm like, yo, this is what happened. I'm not going to say a freaking thing. I'm released on my own recognizance. They're not taking me to jail. I'm not going to jail. I'm not going to prison. It's not going to happen. And let's get back to work. So he's like, all right, we'll talk in a little bit. So a couple days go by. I'm trying to get a hold of him. He's not answering. And then he called me late one night, and he's like, where you at? I'm like, I'm up at my house, whatever. And
so you were planning on getting back into business?
Oh yeah. I was not phased. I wasn't phased.
That's crazy, man.
No, I wasn't phased by it at all. I was delusional. Really, it's what it must have been, delusional. So
and you're 18.
18.
That's insane,
18,
man.
18, like 18 and, 3 or 4 phones, you know what I'm saying? Like on my waist. But yeah, I got the Nextel, I got the Motorola this, I got the whatever, like just delusional, bro. Delusional. And, it's so foolish, dude. Like I remember like the feeling of like, just like walking around with 4 phones on my waist and like feeling like I was like some like bad dude. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. Isn't it crazy? Like the things that, you know what I mean? It's like,
it is,
what
man.
in the world, dude? Like what a loser. But, anyway, a couple days go by. I didn't hear from him. And then he calls me late one night And he's like, where are you at? I'm at my house, whatever. So he comes and picks me up. And Abraham is driving the car. So you go, this is Abraham. And Joe's in the passenger seat. I get in the back seat. And they're driving. And they start driving. And they're driving and driving and driving. And
are they not saying anything to you?
Not much of anything. And I was like smoking a little bit and just, I didn't know where we were going, what we were doing. And we could get on these back roads and they're just driving and I'm, their music's playing and whatever. And they end up pulling over and I wasn't nervous or anything. Like I was just chilling. Like I was like, I figured we were just going for a ride, whatever, listen to music, smoke some weed, you talk about business, whatever. And that was something we did like anyway, just like as teenagers, we just would ride around quiet anyway and listen to music, whatever. It's like, it wasn't really necessary to be like having a whole bunch of conversation. That's, it wasn't unusual. It didn't feel unusual. It felt unusual.
How old are these guys?
Joe Guy was probably like 25 or 26 or something like that. And Abraham was a little bit older.
And are they like hardened?
Yes. Yeah. Joe Guy was like, he was cold. Cold dude.
And Abraham was the big boss?
Mm-hmm. And like I said, this was my first, that was what was unusual, was meeting Abraham.
Okay.
That was weird. That was the only thing that I thought was weird. I wasn't sure, about that, but it was like, I almost thought it was like,
they're bringing you in.
Yeah. Like this, yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to put you on with Abraham. You know what I mean? Like, so they end up pulling over, and I'll never forget.
So hold on, I'm just trying to draw a picture for people. Like, so Joe Guy, like, how much do you know about him?
Joe Guy?
Yeah,
like we were tight. We were tight.
So how long have you been working with this guy, Joe Guy?
About a year.
Because I know where this story's going, so I just want to draw a real clear picture to people.
Like I'd known him for years,
right?
I'd known him for years,
and he was sort of like a big name in that world.
Yes,
in your area.
Yes, for the weed,
okay.
and was able to sell all this weed and avoid being arrested, avoid police, all that.
And he'd probably been doing it guns since he was what?
Young.
Like when you started.
Yeah, 13. Probably. Yeah, probably.
And he's 7 years older than you.
Right. And I can't emphasize enough how much of a crime it was at the time to be doing what we were doing. Like weed is like nothing. Like I said, it's nothing anymore.
Yeah.
It was serious business. It was serious stuff. Like it was,
especially the amounts you're talking about.
And the amounts. Yes.
And then you're running it through the federal mail.
Well, we weren't doing the weed that way. That was all.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the crack.
Still,
the
you're
coke.
running drugs like that. So.
Well, these they were separate though.
Okay.
They were separate. That was the thing. Me and Dan were running the coke and the crack and the ecstasy, and me and Joe. So Dan had this crack, coke, ecstasy thing going on. And he was a big name for that. And Joe had the weed.
Okay.
And because I had the weed, because I was the face of it in York County, me and Dan were like this, like crazy.
So you're double dipping, more or less.
It was like this weird monopoly kind of thing that we had, this partnership that we had developed. And we just had it all on.
So this conversation with Joe and Abraham has nothing to do with your other operation.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
So, but getting back to Joe Guy, he's pretty. You're saying he's a hardened
dude.
He's been doing this for a long time.
Yes, tough as nails.
And Abraham's the big man.
Yes. And he's dealing with the growers. Abraham's dealing with the growers. He's going all the way to California. Like he's coming back from California with truckloads.
So he's sort of like the leader of the whole organization in York County.
Exactly, yes.
Okay,
yes.
So, and you're thinking, in your mind, you're with these guys.
Like if you had weed in Pennsylvania, if you had in York County, if you had weed, it came from Abraham.
Right.
Period.
So in your mind, you're about to like be made a partner in the law firm.
Yeah, maybe, potentially. Like I don't know exactly what's going on. It was unusual that I'm meeting this ghost. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
For sure.
All right.
And so we get all the way down this back road, and he pulls over, and they don't say nothing, but Joe turns around and hands me this really weird pipe. I forget what they used to call it, like a lady's slipper or something like that. It's this really like feminine looking pipe that like curves down and then like just curls up at the very end. And it's real thin. And it was like fashionable to smoke out of this thing. And he packs it with Afghan weed, some real high quality stuff for the time, right? If you had Afghan or something like that, Purple Haze or anything like that at the time, like you were like a baller, right? So that was like the delicacy. He turns around and he hands me this like real high quality weed and was like, here, man, this is the last one you're ever going to smoke. And
oh man,
yeah. And turns and that didn't completely register. I lit it and I start smoking it, and I'm like, that's when I start kind of realizing what's going on. And then he turns around and puts a 45 in my face and stuffs it in my cheek. And I'm like, whoa, bro. Like he's like, like, it's over for you, man. Like, I was like, I'm not going to say nothing, man. I'm good. I'm cool. I'm good. You know what I mean? I'm like, now I'm like, oh. Like,
so you're getting scared.
Yeah. Like, they're going
right.
to kill me. Like,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? Like, like, I'm the weak link at this, you know what I mean? Like, they're going to kill me. They were scared that I was going to talk. I'm like, I'm not going to talk. I'll never talk. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's like, I don't know what possessed them to just literally, he just turned around and they drove and dropped me off, and I never saw them again.
That is crazy, man.
I never saw them again. Never heard from them. They dropped me back off
To
at my
this
house.
day?
Never saw them again, either one of them.
Never heard from them?
Nope.
That was it?
No, it was it.
And they were literally going to...
Off me.
That was going to be it?
Off me.
That is such a surreal thing to think about, man.
Yeah.
You know, like they were really going to do that.
Yeah. And it just, I just kind of put my hands up to the side, and, I was like, felt betrayed.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't know me long enough. We've been doing this for how long? You've known me all. You think I'm going to talk? You know, I was offended for one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I wasn't saying.
But they're protecting their empire in a sense.
Oh yeah, I mean that's literally how it goes down. That's usually what happens. It's like if you're too high, if you got too much, know how information. You got too much information, you're dead.
So when that happened, how long had it been since you had signed that paper with the cops?
It was a few days. Like, I had been trying to get a hold of him for a few days. I called him, told him what happened that day, and then tried to get a hold of him for a few days, couldn't get a hold of him. So I guess in that time span, he got with Abraham and was like, yo, dude got caught, this and that, this is what's going on. We got to take him out. Like, if he tells, I guess I'm imagining what the conversation must have been.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It's all over.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't privy to that, whatever, but they obviously concocted that was their solution to the problem. You know what I'm saying? Before,
man, it's just crazy that it's just crazy. I mean, I can't even wrap my head around a moment like that, So do you remember, like, looking into his face? Like, do you remember how, he pulls the gun out of your cheek, like,
and turned around?
Did you see like something flip in his?
That's what I'm saying. It's weird, man. It was like just this. I just kind of froze. Like, I put my hands up. I'm like, yo, I'm not gonna say nothing. I swear. And he just turned around. Like, Abraham never turned around.
Like, so you don't even know what he looks like, probably.
No, I saw his face. They introduced me when I got, when I got, but it was dark. But no, I saw his face and all that, and but he didn't ever speak a word. And like, I guess, like, I don't know, like, I guess it was Joe's responsibility to do the deed or whatever. Like, they were obviously tight. they were about to commit a murder together. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Like, they obviously trusted each other enough to, you know what I mean? That's what the whole thing was weird. Like,
well, that's what's weird is that he just turned around like without. It seems like
it was this weird, like, frozen moment, dude. Like, his fingers on the trigger. It's the 45's stuffed in my cheek. Like, I'm pegged in the back seat of this coupe car. He turns around, stuffs it in my cheek. My head is pinned to the headrest behind me. And I'm like this, just looking at him out of the corner of my eye, like, bro. And it just like time freezes. He pulls it out, puts it in his lap, whatever.
And they just drive you back to your house.
Just drove me right back to my house.
Did they talk to you anymore?
Nope. Never said another word. Never said it. Pulled up, stopped in front of my house.
Did you say bye?
I just got out of the car.
My God, that is so insane.
Yeah.
That is just, oh man, I can't imagine it.
So, me and Dan kept going. So we kept going. Within a few more days, I had got some more stuff shipped.
So let me ask you this: like, why does Dan want to continue working with you?
Me and Dan.
What were you bringing to the table for him?
Oh, because we were selling this stuff together. So I took what he had a great network, for sure. But first of all, me and Dan were really good buddies. Okay. Like that's what was so crazy about our relationship, because we hadn't seen each other for years. Like, we were buddies. We had gone to school together and whatever, and had this good friendship. Neither one of us knew what either one of us was doing.
Oh,
we end up running into each other at Mouse's house that one day. And he had asked me if I had any weed or knew where he could get it. And I was like, yeah. That's when I was like, yeah. And then he goes on to tell me about what he's involved in. He's selling crack and coke and ecstasy. And, but we had a good friendship prior to this. And then, like I said, we run into each other and was like, oh, man, I haven't seen you in a long time, whatever. You know, and like catching up, and then start to, you know what I mean? It was, yeah. So me and his dealings were a lot more personal than me and Joe.
Right.
Okay. So Joe was supplying.
So that's just a business relationship.
Yeah. We got this business. Me and Dan are doing life together.
Yeah.
We're living together. We're around each other all the time. We're hustling together. We're both like grunts. In the sense of, you know what I mean? We're doing everything. We're smoking weed. We're doing what we do, whatever, partying, hanging out, talking, whatever. You know what I'm saying? We've got this like interaction all day, every day.
Okay.
Where we're working together to make money selling drugs, right?
Gotcha.
And the relationship obviously me and Joe were tight and cool and all that, but we're not like, we don't like hang out much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Once in a while we chill or whatever, but not much. And it was more business. And I'm making him a lot of money, you know, at the time. But anyway, so me and Dan continue what we were doing. And I wasn't fazed by any of it. And I didn't never tell nothing, by the way. And like I said, when I came home, you know, people that I had dealt with in the past were all trying to get me back into it. But it wasn't happening. So anyway, we start getting packages shipped again, and we're doing what we're doing. And one day, within a few weeks of this situation,
So how far away is your court date?
Well, that's the thing. So I call an attorney immediately, give him 10 grand and tell him, you know, obviously what's going on, and you know, whatever they call it, where you retain them, and he starts going to work, and he tells me, that was the other thing. He's like, first of all, I hadn't planned on telling nothing, but he's like, you don't have to tell nothing. Like, you're not obligated to, like, just don't you talk to them at all. If they call you, tell them to call me. Like, he was a boss, and he was he specialized in drug cases. but he's extremely expensive. So, anyway. So
your court dates.
it's so far off.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I spent a year, but so to answer your question, it was a year of time.
Okay.
But I didn't know that. We're postponing it. We're doing all, you know what I mean? We're fighting.
Gotcha.
And it took a year before I actually went to court. I was about to turn 19 when I was finally went to court.
Okay.
So
in the meantime,
yeah, in the meantime, we're still selling crack and coke and ecstasy, and I'm dating this girl out in New York, and I had this other girl's car that I'm driving, and I had just had a package shipped somewhere. I think I sent it to the girl's house. Had it sent there, and I'm trying to think exactly like how that worked out, because it was in Hanover. I picked up the package. I'm in this other girl's car. I'm on my way. It's Sunday morning, the day before I had picked this package up. I spent the night in New York, and I'm going back to Hanover for some reason. And it's Sunday morning. Yeah, it was kind of like some weird circumstances. I'm trying to like piece that part. It's a little bit fuzzy, but I remember that I had just got a bag and that I was heading somewhere, and I was in New York, and that's where this girl lived that I was seeing. And I think I was going to see her Sunday morning. And I'm on my way, and I'm coming up 30 in this other girl's car. And I'm coming up 30. And I pass by the church that my mother goes to in New York.
Apostolic Church.
Yeah, she goes to Pentecostals New York. And I drove past it. And I'm not even joking, bro. Like, I'm going down 30, and like involuntarily, the car just does a U-turn right on 30 and starts heading back up to the church. And I just like some kind of robot just like drive this car into the parking lot, and I get out, and I can hear the church bumping, the music bumping from outside of the building.
Yeah.
It's Sunday morning service around 10 o'clock or so. And it was like just mechanical, dude. Like I literally I don't even know how to explain it. Like I was not driving myself. Like my body was being manipulated to walk into this building.
Because at this time in your life,
I have no interest. Like I was so far gone. Like I said, go ahead.
No, you're saying it for me.
Yeah.
At this point, at this moment in your life, you're not even thinking about it.
This is the time that I was telling you, like during this space and time where I had kind of like shut myself out, and I was dealing with that like feeling of just like total disregard for God.
Right.
And he was way off here somewhere.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
So somehow autopilot.
Thank you. Autopilot of some sort. Yeah. Weird. It was weird.
What are you thinking when this is happening? I mean, are you like why am I doing this right now?
Yes. Like, I don't even know how to explain it. Like my body's just doing stuff and I'm watching it do it. You know what I mean?
It's crazy.
Yeah. Like car turns around in the middle of the road. It just so happens to be church time. I just drive into the parking lot and just like kind of get out of the car and start walking into the church. I'm 18.
Now, how long at this time, like how long since you got busted and you had the experience with Joe Guy, how much time has he lapsed from that to this day?
Maybe like 3 weeks or so.
Really?
Yeah, 3 weeks, maybe a month, maybe.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep. and it's blurry a little bit, like this time period. Like I've got like distinct memories of the stuff that I'm talking about, but like some of the finer details and stuff,
Right.
like I was kind of like in a weird autopilot for the enemy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I was manipulated and manipulating, and it was just a weird time in my life where everything is so fast paced that you can hardly take in what's actually happening. You're so like just kind of like into what's happening, and then trauma. I think some of it has to do with trauma.
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, those are some really insane to be clocked upside the head by a cop and have your street shut down as an 18-year-old. I mean, how do you process? And then 3 days later, somebody's shoving a gun in your face. Like, how does an 18-year-old process these things, man? Like,
and
so
then,
yeah, you're
and-
definitely dealing with some drama,
right? And then be trying to like figure out how you got there.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, man. I mean, so many terrible circumstances, like it all kind of stems from the anger of, the stuff you went through watching your parents' marriage fall apart, and then the stuff with your dad and this guy that worked for your dad, and I mean, just how it all leads. It's just really crazy to look back at the path.
Right.
So, anyway, you're on autopilot heading into this church house.
Yes. And to the stirring that starts happening in me as it's happening. Like I'm putting the pieces together though, even though it's like it feels involuntary. I'm starting to put the pieces together as it's happening. I'm like, and when I tell you, bro, I walk right up the church steps and right through the front doors. And I mean, I'm talking about like pants sagging. I got these big Tim Pros on, you know what I'm saying? Pants sagging, big, huge gold watch, multiple chains all around my neck, multiple phones on my waist, 5950 on to the side. You know what I'm saying? Like gangster. Thug. Tall T. Like I was thugging it out. And I come walking in, and I walk straight to the front of the building, right up to the pulpit. And I go up. At the time, they would put all the kids, like the youth or whatever, teenagers or whatever, they'd put them all in the front row, all up. The church building had 3 sets of chairs and 2 aisles that went between the 3. You know what I'm saying? Like, and all the way in the right front of the building, right in front of the pulpit, off to the side, kind of, they put all the youth up there. And I walked right up through that aisle and right over to the youth and stood there. And I turned around and looked off to my left across the building, and I saw my mother standing there praying. And she had her eyes closed and her head down. I had a really bad relationship with my mom. We hardly spoke. And I walked right across the front, right up the other side, and I grabbed my mom. And she opened her eyes and she saw me and collapsed, weeping. And I started crying. I'm like, Mom, I'm in trouble. She's like, I know. And she's like, you're not going to believe this. I was standing here praying to God. And I said, God, I don't know where my son is. And I don't know what he's doing. I don't know if he's okay or not. And I'm about to give up. I need some faith. Please, God, increase my faith.
Oh, my God.
And at that very moment, I grabbed her. So I turned around, I went up to the front, and to the side of the pulpit, there was a wall. And I stood in front of that wall, and I reached my hands up to God, and I just started praying. And I was like, God, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for everything I've done. Please forgive me. And I remember I stretched out. I was standing on my tiptoes, and I couldn't stretch any farther, man. I'm just reaching, and I'm crying. I was like, God, I'm reaching to you as high as I possibly can. Please reach back down to me. And at that moment, man, he hit me with the Holy Ghost like I've never, ever, ever experienced in my life, man. Like, I prayed in the Spirit for I don't even know how long. And I turned around. And when I turned around, at some point I turned around, and the entire church had moved to the front. And it was literally like people were stretched out with their hands over me on my back. And it was one person after another, hands on backs, like completely the whole church had crowded me and was praying over me. Brother Rodney Glass had told me, he's like, man, I've never seen anything like what happened right here with you. Like, I've never seen anything like that in my life. The way you broke through and the way the church responded. And I walked out of there like, dude, it had been 6 years. I hadn't prayed in the Spirit since I was 12. And though, like, all of this, like, weight was lifted off of me. And I started to, like, see clear in some way. Like, it was like this clarity. Like, I was like, oh my God. Like, I've had this fog. Like, it was so liberating, the feeling, that when I left there, after this experience, when I left there, like, I didn't even know how to go back to what I was doing. Like, I was trying to, and it felt so foreign. I remember, so I went back, I went to the girl's house where I was heading, and I kept trying to get away from her. And I ended up, like, going in her room. She was in the living room, and I, like, snuck off into her bedroom and, like, got prostrate on the floor, because I was trying to get back to that feeling that I had in the church. Yeah. Like, I was like,
on that same day?
Yes. Like, I was like, what was that? You know what I'm saying? What was that? I want to be back in that space. You know what I'm saying? Because that felt good. You know what I mean? And, like, that connection that happened with God in that moment, like, was like nothing. Like, that's where I wanted to be, bro. And I was afraid of anything else. I had this new, like, understanding and feeling of just, and clear vision. Like, it's so weird to explain the feeling of the fog that was lifted off of me.
Well, that wraps up part 1 of episode 10. Be sure to tune in next week for part 2. And yes, that will be next week. We're not skipping a week this time. Part 2 will drop next Sunday at noon. If you like, subscribe, or follow this podcast on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen to your podcasts, you can be sure not to miss it when it drops. Before I close out here, I wanted to mention something. I have a friend of mine who is the principal of a small Christian school in Baltimore, Maryland, Clare Christian School. For nearly 30 years, Clare Christian School has provided a safe haven and Christ-centered education for students from the Clare community and surrounding neighborhoods. And for nearly 30 years, God has faithfully provided. Their budget this year is almost $300,000, and students only pay $25 per month to attend. They operate almost entirely through the generosity of donors from around the country and beyond. People who caught the vision of what God is doing on a small alley street in southwest Baltimore. My friend felt that God called him to pray specifically for the Teachers Fund, to believe in faith that it would be fully funded for the school year by the end of January. The staff's salaries are far below market value for the work they do. They do what they do in service to God and out of an abundance of love for the students. So I told my friend that I would give his school a shout out on here and invite the listeners of the Witness podcast to be a part of what God is doing through this school by giving. I'm going to post links in the show's description so that if you feel God's call to give, you'll be able to. And I'm going to mention them here as well. You can give, first of all, online at www.wilkinsmennonite.org/donate. Just select MCCS Teachers Fund under the Give To section. You can also give through PayPal using their email address, mtclarecs@gmail.com. That's mtclarecs@gmail.com. You can also give on Cashapp, and their Cashapp ID is $MTCLARECS, or on Zelle with the Zelle ID MTCLARECS. You can also give the old-fashioned way by cash or check donation. Mail those to Mount Clare Christian School, 320 South Vincent Street, Baltimore, Maryland, 21223. That's Mount Clare Christian School, 320 South Vincent Street, Baltimore, Maryland, 21223. Well, that's a wrap for now, but we are not adjourned. We'll be back next week at noon. So we're just in recess until next week.